Children, please be ready for the pledge. Place your right hand on your heart and please repeat. I, Shruti Narayan, commit to be vigilant and bear in mind at all times the risk to myself and my colleagues from COVID-19. I promise to take all necessary precautions that prevent the spread of this deadly virus. I promise to follow and encourage others to follow the key COVID appropriate behaviors, to always wear a mask, face cover, especially when in public places, to maintain a minimum distance of 6 feet from others, to wash my hands frequently and thoroughly with soap and water. Together, we will win this fight against COVID 19. Good morning, children. So, just a reminder to keep yourself safe because of the current situation. In order to stop the spread of germs that can make you and others sick, cover your mouth and nose with a tissue when you sneeze or cough. If you don't have a tissue, use your elbow. Wash your hands regularly. So today we start with a new lesson, composition and structure of the atmosphere. The vast expanse of air which envelops the earth all around is called the atmosphere. The air of the atmosphere has become an integral part of the earth due to the earth's gravitational force. The air of the atmosphere is colorless, odorless, and tasteless. We cannot feel the presence of air unless it blows as a wind. So the Earth, with its spherical shape, is divided into three domains: lithosphere, atmosphere, and hydrosphere. So the lithosphere, atmosphere, hydrosphere together make up the biosphere. Like matter, these occupied domains exist in three states. They occupy space and possess inertia. The lithosphere exists in a solid state where we are living, where plant and animal life lives. The atmosphere is in a gaseous state and the hydrosphere is in liquid state. Each has a purpose in supporting life on Earth. In its gaseous state, the atmosphere is characterized by momentum and pressure. It regulates the heat around us. The blanket of air surrounding the Earth is known as atmosphere, and it exists in several layers about which we'll be studying. So these layers become thinner and thinner as the altitude or the height goes on increasing. The atmosphere protects the Earth from the harmful ultraviolet and infrared rays of the sun. It has life-giving gases. It has oxygen, nitrogen, which help to support life on Earth. It also helps in retaining the necessary warmth on the Earth and helps in the circulation of water vapor, which is the source of rainfall. You remember we've studied about the water cycle. So the water evaporates from the water bodies, reaches the atmosphere as water vapor, where it condenses, cools, and then it forms various forms of precipitation. So this process of condensation and precipitation takes place in the atmosphere itself. So the atmosphere is a mixture of many gases, as you can see in this diagram. So the atmosphere, a clean dry sample of air, is made up of 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. The remaining 1% of air is made up of a number of gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, helium, hydrogen, argon, etc. And each gas has an important role to play, about which we'll study. Nitrogen constitutes the largest proportion of the atmosphere. This gas has no color odor, or taste. However, it is a very important gas. It dilutes the oxygen and slows down the process of oxidation. Nitrogen avoids quick burning. It would be difficult to control fire in the absence of nitrogen. Nitrogen generates proteins in plants, which is the main source of food. It is essential for all living things, but they cannot use it directly from the atmosphere. Plants obtain it from the soil, and animals obtain nitrogen by eating plants or other animals. So, this is a very important gas. Oxygen is called life giver because it is essential for breathing. It helps in burning the fuel. So, oxygen, without oxygen, most living things cannot survive. So, children, the remaining 1% of the air is made up of other gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, helium, hydrogen, argon, etc. Carbon dioxide is needed by plants for their survival. So, it is a very important gas. It is utilized by the plants for the process of photosynthesis. You must have studied about this. Alright, and carbon dioxide and water vapor in the atmosphere absorb heat radiated by the earth and keep the lower layers of the earth warm. So, this is the importance of carbon dioxide. The next very important gas is water vapor. Though the amount of water vapor is very less, but it plays a significant role in the atmosphere. It is the source of clouds and precipitation. So, water vapor is added to the atmosphere by the process of evaporation. So, evaporation from the water bodies like oceans, lakes, rivers, transpiration from vegetation, respiration of animals. So, children, the water vapor and the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere absorb heat radiated by the earth and keep the lower layers warm. Water vapor also causes condensation, clouds, rainfall, and snowfall. Apart from the numerous gases about which we studied, there are lots of dust particles. There are particles like pollen from plants, dust from dust storms, ash from meteorites and volcanic eruptions, smoke from fire, and salt particles from sea, which are present in the lower layer of the atmosphere. Collectively, these tiny bits of particulate matter are referred to as condensation nuclei. The amount of dust particles varies from place to place. There are more dust particles in urban areas as compared to rural areas. Dust particles are also most numerous in the lower layers of the atmosphere near their source. Near their source means the Earth's surface. So, dust particles may also be carried to the upper layers by the rising air currents. Now, we should also know the role of these dust particles. So, these particles act as a nuclei. That is why they are called condensation nuclei, for water vapor to form raindrops around them. And they also scatter the sun's radiation during sunrise and sunset. So, the basic function, just a recap, the basic function of these particles or condensation nuclei is the formation of clouds and fog. Dust in the atmosphere contributes to the red and orange colors of sunrise and sunset. Now let us see the functions of the atmosphere which are given on page number 93. Air has weight and so it exerts pressure, which is called atmospheric pressure. And it is the various layers of atmosphere rest on each other, so the pressure is maximum in the lowest layer. Due to their physical contact with the surface of the earth, there is constant exchange of gases between air, land, and water, which is continuously taking place. The soil absorbs oxygen and nitrogen due to this contact. Water vapor in air rises from oceans on account of evaporation. So, when the water bodies get heated, then the process of evaporation starts. Then carbon dioxide, it's a repetition of what we studied. It helps in absorption of heat and keeps the earth warm at night. So it is a greenhouse gas, and some amount of carbon dioxide is definitely important for sustaining life on earth because it maintains a suitable temperature. It regulates a suitable temperature. Because of its composition, consisting of various gases, dust particles, the atmosphere is the most dynamic entity, meaning constantly there are movements taking place in the atmosphere. It is not static. So there are large masses of air which move up and down across the surface of the earth because of temperature changes, because of pressure differences, about which we'll be studying in the coming chapters. The energy of the sun is actually responsible for keeping the atmosphere in a dynamic state. Because of the heating of the atmosphere by the sun's rays, the atmosphere is in a dynamic state. There are some parts which get heated more, there are some parts which are heated less. So there are pressure differences. Due to pressure differences, winds are created. The winds move from areas of high pressure to areas of low pressure. So these are the important functions of the atmosphere. We should also know how the atmosphere is important. It enables us to hear and communicate because it carries the sound waves from one place to another. It is responsible for changes in weather, blowing of wind, storms and cyclones. So we all know how important the atmosphere is. It is a thin layer of air and it forms a protective covering around the planet. It maintains a balance between the amount of heat which is absorbed from the sun and the amount of heat that escapes back into the space. We'll be studying about this later. It also protects the life forms from some of the harmful rays of the sun like ultraviolet rays. It protects us from the meteorites. So this is how the atmosphere is so important to all of us. It has life-giving gases which have helped in sustaining life. In none of the planets we see life. It is only in the earth that we see life because of the favorable conditions which are present in the earth.